This reading is entitled, What is it to fail spiritually? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The first passage is from the Gospel of St. Matthew. Jesus tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 of them wise and 5 foolish. They await their bridegroom, the Christ consciousness. The wise virgins keep the oil in their lamps, symbolic of their devotion, lit through the night. The foolish virgins placed no oil in their lamps. These foolish ones are like the average devotee, going through the motions of outer ritual, but keeping no fire of love burning in the heart. When the bridegroom's coming is announced, the foolish virgins realize their mistake and hasten out to purchase oil. During their absence, the Christ consciousness comes and embraces those who have been awaiting him with devotion. The foolish ones, by their lackluster devotion, are not accepted by him. Watch, therefore, Jesus told his listeners, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda describes the foolish virgin consciousness he encountered in the Mahamandal hermitage he stayed in as a young man in Benares. I was pleased, he wrote, that my new home possessed an attic, where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. "Don't try to catch God so soon." This ridicule accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. Later, during meditation, I felt lifted as though bodily to a sphere uncircumscribed. "Thy Master cometh today." A divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This supernal experience was pierced by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest, nicknamed Habu, was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. "Mukunda, enough of meditation. You are needed for an errand." The Divine Mother's words were not spoken for the benefit of that priest, the, quote, foolish virgin, but for Mukunda, the wise virgin. For this was the day his guru, Sri Yukteswar, came to him. Grieve not, friends, if you feel that you have been foolish. No error is forever. Someday, if you keep your lamp lit now, your opportunity will come. And this is from the Gita, from the 6th chapter. Arjuna says, "What is the fate of him who strives with faith, but fails and loses heart, or even falls from holiness, missing the perfect rule? Like the rent cloud that quickly vanishes, is he not lost, abandoning the way? Remove, O Krishna, my uncertainties. No one but thou canst banish my grave doubts." Krishna says, "Arjuna, none who work for self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Not here on earth, nor in the other world, will he encounter sorrow and destruction." A fallen yogi, when he dies, attains the heavenly regions of the virtuous. Many the years he dwells there joyfully. And when at last he must return to earth, his past true deeds will cause him to take birth in some pure, noble-minded family, happy in virtue and prosperity. Even it may be that he will take birth in the home of yogis, calm and wise, enlightened souls. But this kind of birth is all too rarely come by here on earth. Returning here, his good deeds of the past awaken in his heart the urge to seek his former path with ever greater zeal, determined more than ever now to reach the one true goal of life, eternal bliss. Past yoga practice, like an unseen tide, propels him forcefully upon his way. Even that man who deeply longs to know the subtle yoga path is more advanced than those who merely practice outward rites or follow scripture for their private gain. By diligently purging self of sin, an end achieved at last by all who strive, the yogi, countless rebirths ended, dwells forever in supreme beatitude. Greater the yogi is than they who quell their senses with ascetic discipline, greater than they who seek to plumb the depths of truth by reasoning and wise dispute, greater than they who seek by works alone to impress the Lord, who is himself those works. Be thou, therefore, a yogi, O Arjuna. He who absorbs his mind and soul in me, unceasingly established in my rest, know him to be among all yogis best. Many harbor the secret doubt, what if I fail spiritually? During the gold rush days of 1849, there were many who left behind everything to seek their fortune. Forsaking home and even family, they came adventuring for gold in California. Many of them ended up not rich, but destitute. Is the spiritual search as unreliable as finding gold? Devotees ask themselves, what if I fall from my path? Will my fate be worse than if I had never tried at all? Will God punish me for my failure? Will my lot be even worse, perhaps, than that of worldly people who never tried at all? A certain amount of apprehension does no harm. It may even prod one to increase his spiritual efforts. Smugness is not an aid to security, but a threat. And tepidity is one of the main reasons devotees fall from the path. Tepidity means sort of lukewarm, half-hearted. The scriptures warn against the danger of lukewarm devotion, as Jesus did in the parable of the 10 virgins. Fear, however, is an obstacle on the spiritual path, as in every undertaking in life. Let me read that again. Fear, however, is an obstacle on the spiritual path, as in every undertaking in life. It can paralyze effort, and may even act as a magnet that attracts the very results one fears. There is no cause to fear, moreover. What really is the fate of one who takes up the spiritual path, but later returns to a worldly life? Is it worse to fall spiritually than never to have tried in the first place? The stern warning of the parable of the 10 virgins was not intended to discourage. The 5 foolish virgins ended up being told by the bridegroom, I know you not. But at least they were 5 out of many who had aspired to marry him. Their chance would come again, if not in this life, then in the next, or in future lives. God is a God of love, not of pique at human slights. How beautiful, then, are Krishna's words of reassurance in this great passage of the Bhagavad Gita. No right effort, he assures us, is ever lost. As he promised also elsewhere, even a little bit of the practice of this religion of inner communion will save you from dire fears and colossal sufferings. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Today's topic, I wanted to begin with a song. And were you able to get it on there? Oh, we're passing it out? Okay, if you could pass that out. This song is called Two Souls That Were Fallen, and two meaning T-O, 2 souls that were fallen, meaning he's speaking to some souls that were that were fallen. And this song is from Swamiji's oratorio, which is the life of Christ, and here we are in the Christ season, so it's applicable. I'm going to first just read the words, then I'll sing it. And I'd like you to sing it with me, after I do my little thing first. So, to souls that were fallen, he spoke of God's love and coaxed them with kindness to turn back again. Forsake, he said, the fulfillments of earth, for the comfort they bring you lasts hardly an hour. Aren't those just beautiful lines? So it goes, to souls that were fallen, he spoke of God's love and coaxed them with kindness to turn back again. Forsake, he said, the fulfillments of earth, for the comfort they bring you lasts hardly an hour. Just a very beautiful melody also. So let's learn it. Why don't you repeat after me? Okay, I'll say a phrase and then you sing it with me. So first I'll do it, then I'll say now you. So, to souls that were fallen, together. To souls that were fallen, he spoke of God's love. He spoke of God's love and coaxed them with kindness, and coaxed them with kindness to turn back again, to turn back again. Forsake, he said, forsake, he said, the fulfillments of earth, the fulfillments of earth, for the comfort they bring you, for the comfort they bring you, last hardly an hour, last hardly an hour. Okay, so let's try and sing the whole thing together. To souls that were fallen, he spoke of God's love and coaxed them with kindness to turn back again. Forsake, he said, the fulfillments of earth, for the comfort they bring you lasts hardly an hour. Doesn't that feel good? It's just such a beautiful song. And it so works with the theme today, which is, do we fall spiritually? Or what do we do when we fall spiritually? What's the title of... What is it to fail spiritually? Such a strong word, fail. First of all, I think we probably all know there really is no failure, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. To souls who were fallen, he spoke of God's love and coaxed them with kindness. He didn't say, forsake God's love. Or no, forsake the fulfillments of the earth, for the comfort they bring you lasts hardly an hour. He didn't say that. He said, forsake the fulfillment of earth, for the comfort they bring you lasts hardly an hour. But he coaxed them with love. And so it's something we should really take in. And when you sing this song, you can feel the love just pouring out of it. It feels like Divine Mother is just holding us and saying and coaxing us with her love. And we should remember these things when we feel like failures. There's all sorts of videos these days on the internet, especially YouTube, about near-death experiences. These are experiences of people who have been perhaps in some kind of a situation where they died temporarily. It could have been on an operating table. It could have been in a car accident. But these people have a death experience, meaning very often they go through a tunnel. They are greeted by a family member or a spiritual being. They sometimes will have a life review where they look over how life has been so far. And then they're sent back. They're told your time is not yet to die. Nobody who comes back from that experience, first of all, they never fear death again. They see how it just means you're just walking through a membrane or just walking through a curtain. And you are who you are on the other side also. Maybe with more awareness, hopefully. As yogis, we're really hoping to have one of those conscious deaths where you are walking through. Many people, when they die, Master said, are asleep on the other side for a period of time to kind of recuperate. But we don't want to do that. We want to be awake on the other side and just start doing what we're supposed to do on that side. Most likely look after a few people that we cared about on earth, or go into the greater light and feel that unity with the divine, and most likely be with others that we've known from lifetimes ago that we might not even have experiences with on this earth plane. So when they have the life review, think about your own life and your own life review. What comes up? Shame about things we've done, guilt about things we've done, And so who would really want to have a life review? I don't know. Actually, I would like to have it and face it. But in general, this is not something we would want to have every day. We review a lot of life anyway, in general, in our meditation, in our dreams, all sorts of things. We're constantly thinking back. What if I would have done this differently? Why didn't I do that differently? But in this life review, when people mention this, they say that there was someone, a greater being, that they could feel the presence of a personal being that was standing there or with them, who was completely non-judgmental, completely there, fully aware, their attention fully focused on that person, and helping them through the life review. And they would see, one guy, he was a sniper in the Army. His name is Daniel Brinkley, and he's written a number of books, actually. And he saw how, even though his job was to be a sniper of the enemy, he saw that when he killed someone, how it affected that person's family and their family and their family, and he felt very badly. He realized how much he had done some wrong things. And the entity, he said, just filled him with love. Just filled him with love and understanding. And, coaxed him with kindness to change. And then he was, sent back and did change. He was sent back, and he was changed forever. He said he was a horrible person before. He goes on lectures. I don't know if he does that anymore, but when we were at Ananda Palo Alto, he came and gave a talk at Ananda once. He gave a public lecture periodically in our in where we were at the time. Certain lecturers would come in and out of town, so a bunch of us went and saw. And so, that he did one of the worst things you can think of. And what happened? The divine filled him with love and said, just try better. And then he did, and he's no doubt, he changed his life. He's trying to help other people. And that can certainly help rid one of the karma of the badness that they've done already. And when he said he was a horrible person, he didn't say it, horrible person from the past, he didn't say it with a sense of, and I was a horrible person, you know. He said it with a sense of acceptance. Yes, I did that. But how many of us are just filled with guilt about what we've done? Oh, if I could have only done this differently, only done that differently. And what that guilt does is it keeps us out of the present moment of feeling the presence of God. And, you know, we should really judge our life by how much we're feeling God in our heart versus not. And that will, the more we can feel that presence in our heart, the more we will behave appropriately in life. And we can, you know, Sri Yukteswar says that all sorts of things on our path say, forget the past, forget how things were. Don't look at life as failure. Don't look at mistakes as failure. And, you know, move forward in life without the guilt. Now, it doesn't mean we don't say, I'm sorry, if we committed violence towards another person. And when I say commit violence, that doesn't mean hit them or even scream at them. But if we were unkind, we should apologize. And what it does is it clears our own heart and it clears the other person's heart. Because when we speak harshly to someone else, it's as though we are putting, you know, psychic knives in their heart. And they have to work to try and get your knives out of their heart if they allowed the knives in, which most people do accidentally. We just walk around in life open. You know, I'm in a great mood. I feel like being open. And then someone comes in and goes, bah, you know, and then it's like, oh! But how many times do we experience that? And so this is where we raise our awareness and say, oh yeah, that person tends to carry knives with them. I see them, I can be open, but my shields are up. And that's okay. It's okay to have your shields up. The more we meditate, the more sensitive we become to energies that come towards us. And so it's important to realize it's okay to have shields up. That doesn't mean heart closed. It just means awareness can make you go, oh yeah, there goes a knife. You know, there's another knife. Okay, thank you, have a nice day. Not interested in your knives. It's easy to do once you start practicing that. Awareness. That means being in the present moment. That means not thinking about the guilt of what we've been doing. That means not having the mind someplace else. You know, I've been on the path 26 years, and I have seen quite a few people leave it. And my guess is many of those people feel as though they have failed. And you can see it because they feel shame about a mistake they've made. And think about it yourself. When you wrong somebody, you feel this shame, and you don't even want to look them in the eyes because you think, I really did a bad thing. But imagine if you've done something and a whole group knows about it. Do you really want to come back? You know, because you've done. You can see how that shame would keep. Whereas there's also been others who are like, yes, I made a mistake, but this is my spiritual family. I'm here. I'm sorry, and I'm here. So you can make this choice after you've made some mistakes. And Some people don't even realize they make mistakes all the time and that they're chewing people out and being nasty. And they just come all the time anyway, going, hey, everybody. But they should learn how to have a little bit of guilt, probably. There's usually two kinds of people, the people who are overly guilty and the people who never have guilt. And the never have guilts, actually, psychologists say that type is the hardest type of person to fix psychologically. It's the one who is overly guilty is the one that you can kind of build up and make them feel better about themselves. So this sense of failure, very often it comes from, power, seeking money, corruptness around money, and then temptation. That happens also. The Master said these are the three biggest challenges that people have. And I've seen it happen at Ananda so many times. And not just I've found a different spiritual path and a new guru and I'm going over there, but, big, huge mistakes. But Swamiji, whenever anyone did that, he would come to them one way or another and say, why don't you come to Italy and visit me there? Why don't you do this job instead? Why don't you, he would always give them a next step within Ananda so they didn't just feel like, where can I go? I have to just leave now because I made such a big mistake with this that I just have to go. He would give them a next step. And that is coaxing with kindness, coaxing with love, to just stay. Nothing is too worse. Nothing is too horrible that God is going to reject us. Nothing is too bad that even the sniper was forgiven. Nothing is too bad that we can't just let it go, maybe apologize, and move forward and change. We can learn from our mistakes, change. But nothing is too much. And if we could live by that in our lives, there'd be a lot less inner tension. The devotee, I think, most devotees I know have an inner tension. This inner tension of, I don't want to fail. If I turn left instead of right, what will it, is that going to be the wrong move? Especially in the beginning of the path, I wonder sometimes if we have past life remembrances of when we did go off the path, when we were pulled off. And so there's kind of this tension like, I got to walk the line. I got to stay on the line. And just this memory of, I can't fall off again, which you can see how that is a valid fear to have or a valid desire. But that level of tension and fear, as Swamiji said in the reading, can block us from progress. On the one hand, fear, or like he said, tension, can prod us forward. If we are living in, you can be spiritual and kind of live in a low energy state. Meaning, yes, I love Master. Yes, I meditate sometimes. Yes, I read one of his books every once in a while. That's the tepidity, the lukewarm devotion that kind of keeps you on the path, but it's not that burning fire of devotion that Master is always talking about. It just, you're kind of there. But that low energy state, it's a bit tamasic. That's the word for it. And an example would be you're at work. We might have always known someone like this. They play solitaire most of the day until something is actually needed from them. Not putting out a lot of effort, and then layoffs are happening in the company, and suddenly you no longer see solitaire on the screen. That's us, laying on the couch, watching TV, just hanging out, low energy bill. And rather than, I'm going to up my energy. Now there's a positive and a negative way to motivate ourselves. One is through this fear. Oh my God, if I don't meditate, I'm not going to be free, and then, or if I don't meditate, I'll be pulled down somehow even more. And so I better do it because I'm afraid. Or we make the commitment to keep our energy high and say, and not use guilt as a motivator either. Guilt is worrying about something without any resolution. Why did I do it that way? Why is it that I should have done something else a different way? That guilt just goes around and around in the mind and never results in action. Why have guilt? As people know, Master wrote the Worry Fast. Look it up sometime if you haven't read about it recently. So we want to get that guilt out of our mind. Let's not motivate ourselves on the spiritual path through fear and worry and guilt. Instead, you have to find in your own self that motivation that's going to help keep your energy up and moving forward on the spiritual path. And not moving forward in a way you visualize, moving forward in the way God visualizes for you, which we have no idea. But our job as devotees or disciples or Kriyabans is to keep the energy up and keep that connection inside with the divine. And, I know for myself, if I don't feel the connection inside all the time, then I take that as a sign that I need to do something to make the connection there. It's not, oh, I thought about God 5 times today. Yay, I'm spiritual today. No, it's what's wrong? Why does my heart feel like a rock? Why am I not feeling anything right now? What's going on? Maybe I'm just exhausted. That happens sometimes. But we need to ask always. One thing meditation does is it helps us have that inner connection more and more and more be the reality. So more and more, what is going on inside, what is going on in the heart is the reality, and what's going on outside of ourselves is duty, dharma, loving others. Dharma can be that you should love others. That can be a dharma. That can be your duty, is that you should be sending love out to others. And that's very satisfying also, to serve others. But number one should be that connection inside. If we don't have that connection inside, we can't serve others with a good feeling in the heart. That connection inside, that feeling the connection, that feeling the heart be open. We can't take one step forward without the heart open on the spiritual path. So that needs to become our first priority. Who doesn't want to feel love flowing through all the time? Who doesn't want to feel peace flowing through all the time? Who doesn't want to feel joy flowing through all the time? Who doesn't want to feel that? Everybody wants to feel that. And so that can be the positive motivation for this. The negative motivation is I feel guilty and fearful, and so I'm going to do it. The positive motivation is I feel love and joy and peace most of the time, and when I don't, how can I get back to that? And that requires the energy to go up. And so then, okay, what should I do to get my energy up? Well, we have the energization exercises. Asanas do it. These things are positive motivators. Have you noticed? Davy was talking about one trick she does for herself. I've done it many, many, many times. I will just do the first 5 energization exercises. And then after 5, you're like, oh, okay. And you can just do it. So you can motivate yourself like that. Not, oh my God, if I don't do energization, I'm not following the rules. That's the fear-based motivation. But I want to feel love and joy in my heart. That is very satisfying and very enjoyable. I want to feel that inner joy again. I want to feel that all the time. And so, how can I get there? It should really become priority number 1. Sometimes in level 1 we say, okay, set your alarm once an hour, and then when that alarm goes off, that's a reminder to think of God. That's a good start. But sometimes I've heard some people say, but in level 1 you said that. And it's like, you know what though? You're not in level 1 anymore. Things change. We say different things to people who aren't disciples. We say different things to people who are more experienced, who are more committed, who have more connection to God now. All these things you can find inside yourself anyway, but we all just say these things out loud, just to remind ourselves, most likely, probably. So try to find that positive motivation for yourself and be aware of when the fear is trying to get you. And try not to be motivated by that fear. And take the thought of failure out of your mind. Just don't think of that failure. And use the desire to have inner love and joy as your motivation. Use the desire to feel that all the time as your motivation. And when you're not, that's a sign something needs to change. But use that, and you are surely not going to fail on the spiritual path. You're surely going to succeed and continue to have the progress that we all desire, to continue to move forward. We don't even really know what moving forward means, but if you find you have less attachments to how things should be, take that as an A+ on your report card. Because a sign of detachment in how things should be is a big step towards feeling that love and joy. Because one of the things that keeps the heart closed is getting mad about why things aren't the way they should be, why others aren't the way they should be. We so outwardly identify constantly with what's going on out there and why is it that way. And we're mad only because we're attached to it having been a certain way. But what's the use of wishing something to be other than what it is? It doesn't mean you become passive. You have to actively accept. And that, otherwise, why would we get angry? The opposite of anger is not just becoming passive, because that will just swing back into anger. If passivity plus energy probably swings into anger because we give up out of disappointment. And then we gather our energy again to change it again. So that's not the opposite we want to practice. Instead, that detachment, that's in the middle. And so that detachment is, okay, I don't like it, I accept it, I don't like it, but that's how it is. So how am I going to live with it this way? So getting rid of a lot of these likes and dislikes through detaching is really one way to really help the heart have less of its tension itself, less time for it to feel like a stone. Sometimes I'll sit in meditation and I'll think, why does my heart feel like a stone? And then I realize, oh, my energy is really low. I need to do something. Chant, Don't sit in meditation when your energy is low. That's a sure sleep aid. You sit in meditation, you're tired, then you're going to have a nice sleep. Someone said that in class the other day. When I practice the Om technique, then I go, it's very good for sleep. And I said, now are you thinking you were collapsing into higher consciousness and samadhi? And there was a big grin on the face like, maybe that's what happens. No. If you do not remember your meditation, you were not in samadhi. Because you will remember, I'm not saying this from being a samadhi person, but you will remember every moment. When you are in bliss, every moment is alive. When you are having a deep, beautiful spiritual experience, every moment becomes alive. Isn't that motivation enough to want to have that experience all the time? Okay, God bless you.